Previously on A Love That Lingered, Grace had taken her place more firmly at Arthur's side, assisting in the affairs of the estate despite society's raised brows. What began as Arthur's reluctant surrender grew into a partnership that lightened his burdens and softened his weariness. Now, with their wedding approaching and whispers of war still distant, their days brimmed with cautious hope. This is episode 18, The Secret Falls. Spring had come to the countryside, gilding the Caldwell lands in shades of green and gold. The meadows swayed with tall grasses, and the trees wore crowns of young leaves that rustled softly in the mild breeze. Grace often found herself at the window, gazing out over the estate as the sun rose. Soon she would be 18, and her life would change forever. For weeks, wedding preparations had consumed their time. Seamstresses came and went, swatches of fabric were draped and measured, and the household bustled with planning. Grace dutifully tried on gowns, endured the prick of pins and the endless chatter of her sisters, and even tolerated Oliver's fussing over Arthur's wardrobe. Yet beneath all of it, she longed for something simpler, something unchained by expectation. Arthur had noticed her restlessness. He carried his own, a gnawing ache that he had not spent as much time with her as he desired. The estate and its endless obligations still claimed him, though now Grace often helped. Still, there were days when he yearned to step away from the accounts, the letters, the voices calling his name. He yearned, too, for her, for hours where he did not have to play the master of the house or the heir of responsibility, but only himself. So one morning, before the household had even fully stirred, Arthur surprised Grace. He appeared at her door in riding attire, a mischievous glint in his aquamarine eyes. "Dress warmly, Grace," he said. "We are going away for the day." Grace's heart leapt. "Away?" "Yes," Arthur smiled faintly. "Away from all this. Just you and I." By mid-morning they were riding side by side across the open countryside. Grace's laughter rang out as her horse kept pace with his, her cheeks flushed by the wind. The manor fell behind them, swallowed by hills and forest. The air was fragrant with blossoms, the sky impossibly blue. At last, Arthur guided her into a secluded grove. The path narrowed, softened by moss and shaded by great oaks. They dismounted, tethering the horses, and Arthur led her further on foot. Grace's curiosity grew with each step. And then she heard it, the rush of water, faint at first, then louder. They emerged into a hidden clearing where a waterfall cascaded into a wide pool, its spray glittering in the sunlight. Grace gasped, "Arthur, it's beautiful." He smiled, watching her wonder. "Few know this place. It was my father's favorite retreat, and mine as a boy. I thought perhaps it could be ours too. In that quiet, enchanted place, the weight of the world seemed to lift." They spread out a small picnic Arthur had insisted on packing himself. Oliver had raised a brow when asked not to come, but he had respected Arthur's wish. Grace found herself touched by the simple fare: bread, cheese, apples, and a small flask of wine. Arthur reclined back against a stone, watching her nibble thoughtfully at an apple slice. "Tell me," he said, "what do you dream of once the wedding is behind us?" Grace hesitated. She thought of all the expectations pressed upon her: running a household, attending functions, producing heirs. But beneath those her true hopes lived. "I dream of laughter in the halls," she admitted softly. "Of children racing down corridors, of warmth, of never feeling alone again. Arthur's gaze softened. He reached out, brushing her hand with his. Then we dream alike. He confessed his own longings, not merely of duty, but of freedom within companionship. He wanted to be a husband who came home to her, to share both burdens and joys. He admitted he feared war more than he let on, not for himself, but for the chance it could steal from them. Their words wove around them, binding them closer. Yet for all the tenderness, playfulness soon crept in. Grace, emboldened by the serenity of the place, flicked a drop of water from the edge of the pool onto Arthur's arm. He arched a brow. Oh, a challenge? Before she could retreat, he splashed her back. Grace squealed and darted towards the rocks, but Arthur caught her hand. Their laughter filled the clearing as they stumbled, and suddenly both tumbled into the cool pool with a splash. The shock of water stole their breath, but laughter returned quickly. Grace surfaced, hair clinging to her face, her gown heavy with water. Arthur looked equally bedraggled, but there was a light in his eyes she had not seen in months. "You look like a drowned cat," he teased. She splashed him, "And you know better." They swam, clumsy in their clothes, until at last Arthur caught her, one arm circling her waist. The laughter faded into something else, something headier. For once there were no watchful eyes, no voices of caution. His forehead brushed hers, his lips close enough that she could feel his breath. Grace's hand rose, trembling slightly, to his cheek. And then their mouths met. The kiss was not timid. It was years of longing compressed into a single moment, hungry, desperate, and utterly real. Their hands roamed with the curiosity of the young, fingers clutching fabric, brushing skin. For a breathless while, they were not lord and lady, not heir and fiancé, but two souls discovering each other without restraint. And then Arthur pulled back, chest heaving, eyes stormed with want and restraint alike. "Grace," he whispered hoarsely, "if we do not stop." Her face burned with both boldness and shame. She pressed her forehead to his. "I know." They lingered a moment longer, holding each other in the water, until slowly, carefully, they pulled apart. They climbed from the pool, dripping and breathless. Arthur stripped off his soaked coat, wringing it out with a rueful laugh. Grace sat beside him on the grass, the sun warming her wet hair. For a long while, they spoke little. Words felt unnecessary. The silence was filled with the pounding of their hearts. Grace finally broke it. "Arthur, are you happy?" He looked at her then, truly looked as though weighing his very soul. "More than I thought I ever could be." He paused, his hand covering hers. "You make me believe in a future again, Grace. Before you, I could not imagine it." Tears stung her eyes, though she smiled. "And you've given me a place to belong." They shared bread with damp fingers, laughing at the ruined picnic, speaking of little things, of favorite books, of childhood mischief, of dreams unspoken. It was the kind of conversation that stitched them together more tightly than any ceremony could. In that hidden glade, they were simply themselves. The sun dipped low, casting golden light over the falls. They gathered their belongings and mounted their horses, clothes drying stiffly in the breeze. As they rode home, Grace leaned forward against her horse's mane, the warmth of the day still thrumming in her chest. Arthur glancing at her often, wore a look both fierce and tender. He had given her a piece of himself he rarely showed. And though they had stopped before crossing the line of propriety, both knew they stood nearer to it than ever before. At the edge of the estate, the manor's chimneys came into view. Grace sighed, reluctant to let go of the day's magic. Arthur slowed his horse, drawing near to her. "Grace," he murmured, so quietly the wind nearly carried it away. "Promise me we'll always find our way back to places like this, no matter what storms come." She turned to him, her smile luminous. "I promise."